It's my honor to present the 60th Annual National Defense Authorization Act for 59 straight years. You can't say this about any other piece of legislation all year or any time except the Defense Authorization Bill. We've passed this bill. We've passed it every year for 59 years. This will be 60 years, and I anticipate that we'll pass it now. There isn't much that happens around the Capitol that has a track record like that, but this is the bill. This is what, and maybe I'm biased, and maybe in some people's minds I'm wrong, but I think this is the most important bill of the year. I really believe that. I've believed that since 1987, and this is something that we have to do. There's an old document nobody reads anymore called the Constitution, and there it tells us what we need to be doing. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, provide for our defense. So it's simple what this bill does. It makes our country more secure, and it supports our troops to defend it. Right now, this couldn't be more important. As President Trump's national defense strategy tells us, we're up against the most serious threats we've seen maybe forever. And it's coming from China and Russia. These countries who stand against everything America stands for are building. It bothers me that we went through the last 5 years of the Obama administration, that would have been from 2010 through 2015, where he criticized the military. We didn't have to have the military, he felt. And at this time, I would suspend with my remarks.
Keep going for 2 minutes. I'll let you know.
Oh, you let me know, and I'll be glad to suspend. But anyway, during that time, during the Obama administration, during those 5 years, he reduced the funding for the military by 25%. Now, this has not happened in my memory, and it hasn't happened since World War II, that we've gone through a 5-year period of doing that. And the tragedy is that during that same time, China was increasing theirs by 83%. Something to think about that, Mr. President. 83%. When you stop, you realize that we were reducing our expenditures by 25% while they were increasing theirs by 83%. Now, that's serious enough, and that's something that is very much of a concern to many of us. And so we know that they were increasing, we were decreasing, and as a result, things happened. There are some things that they did. Hypersonics, for example, that's one of the most recent exercises that's out there. They're actually today, as we speak, they're ahead of us. Both China and Russia are ahead of the United States of America in hypersonics, and that type of technology that's out there. And this president came along, and I know there's a lot of controversy about this bill. I know that the president wanted to have something in there that was having to do with language that had nothing to do with the military, and I agree wholeheartedly with him. But you've got to have a defense authorization bill. Our kids in the field demand it. And with the NDAA, we're implementing the policies and programs to make sure that this doesn't happen. We ensure that America is able to prevent and, if necessary, win wars of today and tomorrow. And at this point, I would like to defer to the minority leader, and I do ask unanimous consent that at the conclusion of his remarks that I be recognized to make my remarks. I did want to get some final comments. I mentioned a minute ago, and of course it's the right of the leaders, Democrat and Republican leaders, to have the first time, and it's fine with me. But I just want to make one comment about it. The minority leader was talking about what's going on right now and how, who would be favored and all that. I think one of the things we don't talk about, we should talk about, I know the media doesn't like our president, and a lot of the things that he's done, he didn't get credit for it. And one of the major things, and this is all going to come out, unfortunately this didn't come out before the election, but it should have, because there's this, what do they call that, warp speed, is that right? Yeah, this Operation Warp Speed This was back in June. The president came out with this, and it was General Perna. General Perna was put in charge of it. Now, the reason I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but I think it's important right now that we do, because I want to follow up with what the minority leader talked about, because everyone's concerned about it. They're all concerned about the coronavirus and those things. This has never happened in this country before, but it has happened. It had nothing to do with this administration. They did a great job, and to demonstrate what a great job they did, they had the Operation Warp Speed. This was back in June of this year. And they put General Perna in charge of it, and they wanted me to, I chaired the Senate Armed Services Committee. They wanted us to have a hearing on this. And I was so really excited. No one could have sat through that hearing last June without coming to the conclusion that this thing's going to be behind us. We're winning on this thing. And you come to the conclusion that we're going to have the virus under control. We're going to have a system. We all know that's happening today, right now, as we're speaking. We have several companies, 5 companies, who have come so close, and they are now distributing the necessary equipment so that people will become immune to this thing. That's happening right now. And it happens that even though this was last June, it was last June that we had the hearing in my committee, that everything that they predicted, General Perna predicted at that time, is happening. And they said by December we would have it. Well, here it is, December, and we've got it. And then we said it's going to take about three months to be able to make the distribution around the country, and that time is coming up. It's getting close to that time, and that's going to happen. I mean, we're looking right now at April as the time that we've got this thing defeated. And right now, this administration, I want to give them credit for this. They've got this distribution system set up so it's going to be going around the country, and this thing is going to come to an end. And I have to tell you that the president is responsible for putting this in place. And it's right now on schedule. I know that there isn't time. I don't want to take a lot of time. I see that we have has come into this Senator Reid. Senator Jack Reid is the ranking member on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Let me just tell you that I can't think of anyone I'd rather have as a partner in putting together the Defense Authorization Bill, the most important bill of this of all year, than Senator Jack Reid. He's been there by my side with me, working together. We had a Big Four meeting. We always end up with a Big Four meeting. To tell you what that is, that's the ranking Democrat and Republican in the House, the Democrat and Republican in the Senate, and the 4 of us get together and decide, what are we going to do? What's this thing going to look like? And then we pass it. We pass this bill. It's a good bill. It's one that we have the opportunity to vote on today, the most important bill of the year. And in voting against it, you have to stop and think about those kids that are out there in harm's way and the threats that they're facing on a regular basis. This is a problem. This is a serious thing that's out there. And I can't imagine wanting to have to face these people in the field in harm's way and say, well, we didn't pass a defense authorization bill. We're going to pass it. These kids are going to get the right treatment that they need. They're going to get the resources they need. And I did mention just a few minutes ago about the previous administration. I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying this critically of the Obama administration. I'm saying he didn't have the same priorities that many of us have. His top priority was not defending America, in spite of what the Constitution tells us what should be the top priority. And so we went through that time with, and as I mentioned, between the 2 years of 2010 and 2015, 5 years, reduced the funding for the military by 25%. At the same time, China was increasing their funding for their military by 83%. This is what we looked at, and that's what our president was faced with. And that's why I don't know who's ill-advising the president to be concerned about an issue that has nothing to do with the military. And I know the president has been the strongest. I don't know if there's ever been a president that's been a stronger supporter of our military and our kids in harm's way than President Trump. And I I'm just looking at this now, and I'm thinking we're now 1 minute away from passing a bill that's going to be the most significant bill. And at this time, I'd ask if the minority would like to make any comments at all, because I can tell you right now, I mentioned the names of all the people who had worked on this bill for the last year, and right side by side, it's been Senator Jack Reed and me in the leadership of this bill, and it's going to be a reality. And I just want to thank you and give you an opportunity to get a last word in here, because we're going to vote on this thing in less than a minute.